I think we could drill each hand in both directions individually, and we don't even have to start with two hands. We could just do one-handed drills and see how this goes. So here's what you're doing, and here's where you can correct it. You have the general idea of the up and over, but what you're doing is, in terms of placement, your front position's fine. When you're going up, you're going to there and over, as opposed to midnight and over. So it's really, you're wanting to pop straight up and back. What you're doing is you're popping to, as you're looking at me, more like 1 o'clock than midnight. So it looks more like that. Do you see the difference between this and then what you're doing is this? See how it's listing that way to the side? If you don't have a kinesthetic memory of trying to get it up there, what can help is possibly this drill. Do this with me, where you are, all you do is you're just down here and then shoot it up there. Because the point from here up with your arm is a similar sensation. It's not exactly the same, but it's a similar sensation to here going up. It's at least the ascent upward portion of it. So let's just do 10 of these where we go bottom and now up and back down. And you want to do that in one stroke without so this is a linear extension. The arm is moving up and down on a line versus a long arm extension, which would be like this. So we're going to go up and then come down and then up and then come down and then up and then down and then up and then down and then up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. Two more and up and down. Last set, up and down. So same motion, and we go up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down, up and down and up and down and up and down, up, down, up, down. Two more sets, up and down and up and down. Try the motion again, trying to feel into that point when you were going up as the point of reference before you go back behind. So you go up and back, and then down in front, and up and back. There's also one thing that I think is relevant is, for me, when I'm operating, this was not true when I first started doing the anti-spin because it happened so fast, you're like, wait, what's happening? But as you get more accustomed to what you're doing and you have more access to bullet time and you can perceive more increments of the rotation, for me, it feels like as I'm coming up, there's a slight pause before, at the peak, as it's coming around. There's like almost this moment of like, and it's a moment, we're talking a microsecond here, a moment of waiting. I think that waiting does help, but you have to also have the right positioning for it to work properly. So it's a balance, wait, go back. You balance, you pump up, you wait, and you go back. You pump up and you wait and you go back. Remember, as you're doing this, in terms of proper form, the tendency is sometimes to reach for the movement, where you're leaning forward. Remember to keep your weight on your heels, even if whether or not you're in a T stance or you're squared off with your hips, remember not to do this leaning. We want to stay vertical, stay nice and erect, up and over, down and forward, up and over, down and front, up and back, down and front, up and back, down and front. Let's just practice from the front. Remember, your hip is open to the right, and then up and over, down and front, and up and over, and down and front, and up, and that little pause, weight down and front. It's that little pause before you go back behind. I guess one way to also think about that, what I'm talking about with that pause, is that you almost want to give it an extra oomph as you're pushing up. So you push up so you have long enough to get that space in the loop. I'm noticing also you're doing, so look at me from the side, you're doing a little bit of this, where you're going as opposed to that. Now, here's how I think those play together. If you notice, if you do it with just the arm, which is more or less what you're doing right now, right, and not that much hip, this is just minor hip. If I actually use my core muscles through here and I go from here, as I'm going up and over, the movement of my hip helps propel the backside of the turn coming out of the loop and going to the back. So if you use more hip as you go through it, you can propel it across the top. In my opinion, it is harder to do the top portion than the bottom portion. And it's easy to forget when you're going from the back position to the bottom and the front that you actually want to use just the same amount of momentum going that way, because if you're doing a same direction flower, one of them is going to be going across the top all the time. So you still need that same energy to get it to go up and over, right? And it's my hip that's helping me propel it to get back there and to keep, because you know, the other thing that happens is when you come up and over, it's really easy for it to do this. I see your apartment has a lot of full walls. Once again, I would encourage you to find a fence or a wall outside that you could do these flowers up against, because it helps really give you direct, immediate feedback. It's objectively not gonna lie. Like whatever you think you're doing subjectively, if you're hitting the wall, you know it's crooked. I would measure the distance you're standing from the wall. Like, oh, okay, so I'm gonna use a full arm's length plus the tip of my poi, right? And so that would be touching your wall. But then over time, you might get closer and closer to the wall. But taking notes of what you actually did and how successful you were will help you have an objective measure of this practice, which is kind of frustrating, it feels like sometimes, because you're like, am I getting it? I'm not making any progress. I wish I had it. Like, I think that's a way to help alleviate the sense of frustration that you're not getting anywhere, is by, because a couple of inches matters. So this is me reaching forward, but this is me with my hip open. And I know you don't have boobs, but if you can look at like this space here, there's a real difference in the rotational energy. So if you look at it from this side, this is with the hip open, this is not. This is with it, or like, this is subtle, but this is like really open, what we really want, right? There's a, and I'll show you from the other side, maybe that'll help too. So this is not open, this is open. This is not open, this is open. It really, I cannot possibly emphasize enough how much of a difference I think this hip positioning thing makes with these flowers. I think it makes the flower a lot more possible, and I think it's a lot less tiring in your shoulders. I think it prevents injury. I think it requires less precision in some ways, because you can use the momentum of your hip to get the poi to go. Like if I were standing here like this without using the Pilates, to me that feels like it hurts my shoulders. Whereas when I do use the Pilates, it helps me get it back there.